Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and I'm back with another review for The Walking Dead. This is a review for episode 13, which was called Do Not Lead Us Astray. Well, this was definitely a deep episode in the context of discussing leadership and kind of the very heavy mantle that those who carry that title are typically left to deal with, and especially in times where there's, you know, it's easy to be a leader when everything's great, but when everything's in turmoil, that's when it really comes down. You know, the real metal of a leader starts to come out during that time, and I think that that's definitely been the theme overall this season. And I've mentioned this in other reviews that we know we've looked at Ezekiel, we've looked at Rick, and now we're kind of looking at Maggie, just all in the different types of leadership styles that they have, and also just kind of whether or not the way they're going about their leadership and how they're participating in this battle, if it's the right way, is it the wrong way, the questions they have to deal with, the moral issues, all of that's being examined in this season, and it's definitely kind of like this, I'd say, whole other side story outside of the actual war itself. This episode was pretty good to me. I kind of like I said, we kind of got a little bit of movement as far as the actual war situation. A little sad that we didn't get a chance to see Negan and Jadis, but something told me we weren't going to get a chance to see them. There was a lot of issues facing Hilltop. I would not want to be Maggie right now. It wasn't easy, and unfortunately she can't even really get help from Ezekiel or even Rick in this particular context, because Ezekiel is still kind of picking up the pieces of having almost his entire kingdom wiped out, and of course Rick is still dealing with the death of Carl. So she's kind of the most level-headed person in this group right now, even though she's still pretty thirsty for revenge her own self. So she's just in a really tough place right now, and I just thought it was very interesting how they examined her leadership and had a lot of people propping her up. And that's when I kind of wondered, you know, because I mean, I don't think anyone was ever like, screw Maggie, you know what I mean? I don't think anyone in Hilltop was ever like, this girl. But we had like, what, at least 4 people in this episode walk up and be like, you're a good leader, Maggie, good on you, you know what you're doing. You know, I'm like, why is she getting all these props? Like, this is weird. But I guess that was just, again, the pumping up before the fall as far as the weapon, you know, the tainted weapons and all the people who ended up dying. But again, I guess it was just some reassurance. You know, Maggie she's never had to full-on lead people like this before. She was definitely always a leader within Rick's group to an extent, but she kind of used to let Glenn take a lot of the leadership, you know, in their relationship, which is fine, because Glenn was definitely a little bit more level-headed about certain things than Maggie is. But this is her first turn at being a full-fledged leader and all the things that that entails. And she's absolutely right to second guess herself and to wonder if she's making the right decision. And especially since she's kind of on her own, she doesn't really have a council or, you know, some other viewpoints to really bounce off of. People are just kind of looking to her to get everything done. And thankfully, she's a self-sufficient person, and she's been around Rick and his group long enough that she's learned how to kind of pull up her slacks and get things done. But it's a rough place to be, and she just kind of got thrust into this leadership. She didn't ask for it. She just took it because Gregory's completely incompetent, and now she's trying to run with it as best as she can. But she's still just a person. She's still a human. She's still suffering from her grief over Glenn. She's still dealing with being pregnant and dealing with these psychopaths that are out there trying to take away everything that she cares about. So very interesting that we got a chance to really kind of have her get a little bit of affirmation, which she probably needed, but also for her to really start to understand some of the stuff maybe even Rick has been going through, because I feel like in past seasons we've definitely seen Rick's group you know, gang up and kind of crap on Rick when things didn't go the right way, or they didn't like the decision he made, or things didn't go right. But I think now Maggie's really starting to fully understand just how big of a burden Rick has been carrying for so long, and that he does it with pretty much no complaint for the most part. But also, it's sad that she had to witness all that loss, and you know, she probably does feel somewhat indirectly responsible for it. But going into some of the other notes about this episode, love that Simon underestimated. You'd think Simon would smarten the hell up by now. Like, I mean, with this whole putting on a leather, I've never seen Simon in a leather jacket, okay? Maybe I missed it in past episode, but I don't think I've always seen him in a collared shirt, never in a leather. Where did he even find a leather jacket? Popping up a leather jacket, talking about his genitalia references and all peacocking and his long speeches. I'm like, somebody had a little bit of dick envy for Negan. But anyways, I love that he was so cocky that he actually forgot that these people have been giving Negan a run for his money, the actual brains of the operation, a run for his money now for months, and walked into their, he had to know. You think he'd be smart enough to realize I'm going to them on their home turf probably isn't going to work out well for us. And I can promise you that if Negan had been there, they wouldn't have gotten it. They wouldn't have went inside the gates. They would not have went outside. As soon as those lights went out, Negan would have been like, nope, something's going down here and it's not going to end well for us. Back this up. Let's go. Mind you, Negan never intended to breach the gates, right? He was just planning to wound a few people, obviously infect a few. That, you know, he knew that would cull some of their numbers. But Simon, not that smart. And thank God, because, you know, it did thin his herd a little bit. He definitely lost some numbers in all of this. Daryl, you know, I'm really struggling with trying to figure out what purpose Daryl actually serves anymore. And I'm not hating on the character, because I actually genuinely enjoyed watching the evolution of Daryl on this show since season 1, particularly into season 5. I'd say is kind of where we've seen him change from being this loner, slightly racist, introverted weirdo to actually being someone who actually cared about people and part of a group. But this past season and a half, it's like the writers don't know what to do with him, and he's just annoying me. He's just been in a funk ever since they got into Alexandria, and it's never been dealt with, talked about, expanded upon. It's just him walking around sulking and bitching and just being a general pain in the butt for everybody. And now he's all salty again about Dwight, and it's like, I gave Tara a pass. As I said, I gave her a pass even though she was annoying the crap out of me. I gave her a pass because, look, you know, Dwight directly killed her girlfriend, and it happened like weeks before that. Fine, get it. Angry, cool. But even after this, she's like, you know, I've had some time to think about it, and you know, oh yeah, I was exactly in that position not that long ago, and Rick's group managed to forgive me. And oh yeah, Daryl, remember you and your brother, remember your brother Merle? Yeah, he was with the wrong people too. He killed people. He did some pretty horrendous crap, but this group was willing to accept him back in and forgive him. Remember that? Daryl, oh, it doesn't matter. Merle's always been stupid, so it's fine. Like, what? How is that even logic? Like, I was so over Daryl in this episode. I was like, I mean, thank you for being able to ride through with your machine gun, but outside of that, Daryl, I don't know why you're still here. I honestly don't know why Daryl's still there. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not shading Norman Reedus. I'm not shading the character in general. But the last 2 seasons, the writers have not done jack for this guy. And he's really just, this episode in particular made it glaringly obvious to me that Daryl has no purpose in this group right now. I really don't know what purpose he serves. He's not really supporting Rick. He's not really supporting anybody else in the group. He doesn't talk to anybody. He's not listening to anybody to get the plan done. What are you there for? Why are you here? What does your whole existence mean right now, Daryl? Because I don't know. You're just annoying me. Like, you're getting to the point where I'm really not going to miss you if you just don't show up anymore. I can't with him. I need him to just either tell us what the hell this is all about or get over it. And it's such a fail on the writer's part in this particular regard. And I don't know if it's because I know that Norman Reedus is working on a lot of other projects outside of this show, but I'm like, for somebody who gets as much screen time as he does and has such a big name in this universe, I really expect to see a little bit more development of some sort with Daryl. But it's just been left for like 2 seasons now. And I'm just over it. I need to know what's going on with Daryl. I need some explanation, or I need some sort of growth or movement. If I gotta see one more episode with him bitching and moaning about anything, like, I just can't. I'm over it. I'm just done. And that's the end of my rant. I had to say it because it drove me nuts. All right, I'm done. On to the cutesy part of the episode. We had a little bit of Richonne. I mean, it wasn't like schmoopy Richonne, but it was cool to see Rick and Michonne kind of take another little moment. We know they haven't really had time to really just be and exist since the death of Carl. And, you know, I'm just, I love this couple so much. I love that Michonne is so in tune to Rick that she knows he needs to deal with his emotions. Like, he really hasn't. And honestly, we get it. Like, there has been no time. But she knows that he needs to do something other than be angry. She knows he needs that moment, but she knows enough to also know not to push him. That he's like, she just, you know, I love how she walked into the room when he was, you know, taking the boards off the windows, and, you know, she just kind of gently and very sensitively was kind of like, you know, can I, you know, like, do you want to eat? Like, you know, just kind of, she could coax him, you know, back a little bit, kind of testing the waters to see if he was ready to be in that place. And when he was like, you know, no, let me finish this, let me, whatever, she was just kind of like, she knew enough to just back off. You know, no big speeches about, you need to talk about this, you need to get over your feelings or whatever. No, she knows her man well enough to know that he wasn't ready yet. This wasn't the time. And she just went and started to help him out. Like, I love that was a small moment, but it was massive because it shows just how amazing their relationship and their connection is as a couple, as a unit, that she can just sense these things, that she checked on him. Like, with all that's going on right now, she's like, I gotta check on my man and make sure he's okay and see if he's ready to deal with this yet. No? Okay. Well, and that little moment too also obviously let Rick know that when he is ready to fall, when he is ready to be vulnerable. And we saw it again with Sadiq coming up to him, trying to clean his wound and offering the words of condolences. And Rick was just like, you know, and I get it. Like, I think Rick's at that place right now where he knows that, like, once he falls apart over Carl's death, like when he really allows himself to feel that wave of grief, he is going to be a broken man for a while. Right? And we saw what happened with Lori. Lori, he went wandering in the wilderness for like a week, right? He doesn't have the luxury of doing that right now. He knows how much hurt is just sitting under the surface of all that anger and that rage and that determination to get this war over with. And he just, you know, he's not ready to deal with it right now. And I don't think it's the right time. Like, even though he does have to deal with it, and I think Michonne knows that, the situation as it is with the saviors and everything just being so, you know, ready to go off at any particular second, he doesn't have the luxury of being an emotional pile right now. And that's exactly, I think, is what's going to happen when he finally deals with all of that anguish. So yeah, and I guess those are the main things that happened this episode. The only other two things that, you know, not a lot to talk about, with all the people who died with the Walker bombs that were set by Negan's weapons. You know, I said it a few episodes ago that there was going to have to be a culling. Like, there's just too many people at Hilltop. And it sounds terrible, but there is no more food. They don't know where they're going to get more food. They don't know how long it's going to take. They don't have they don't have the food. They don't have the weapons. They just don't have the means to support all those people in one place at one time. Not logistically speaking. And yes, there are ways, like, obviously there could be plot bunnies that suddenly show up and give them more stuff, but there's only so many times a woman in a pantsuit can show up with gifts of food. There had to be a culling. I'm like, we need to lose some people. And it sounds horrible, but in a show like this, that's the way they handle it, right? Every single time it's gotten a little too big, a little too unmanageable, a little too much money for all the extras on set. We have a break-in at the prison. We have a bunch of people dying in Alexandria. We have, you know, we have the deaths of the Walker herd going through. So the show, it has a pattern, right? We all know, we've been watching this show since day one, that The Walking Dead has a pattern, and that's what they do. When things start to get big and unmanageable and they really can't think of a way to deal with it, there's just a massive culling. Plus Henry, who honestly I don't want to talk about because I'm annoyed with him. We've already had the petulant kid storyline. I'm just not about it right now, but I don't know. I don't think he's dead. I think he realized how much he screwed up, and he's just scared of what Carol's gonna say to him. But we all know that that's gonna send Morgan off the edge. He's already been teetering, and that whole thing about, he says, you know what it is. Remember, that's what Morgan used to say when he was in Clear. Remember, he used to always say, you know what it is, you know what it is, I know what it is. So he's definitely still walking that line of sanity again, and I don't know which side he's gonna fall on, but again, I think this is all spiraling into his exit from this show and his entrance onto Fear. The very, very final thing was Tara. Tara could be potentially infected, but we don't know if Dwight actually dipped his weapons. I don't think he did, and that's why he shot Tara, so that she wouldn't get shot by Simon. But I think she's gonna be fine. I think if she was infected, she would have shown symptoms by then. Everybody else showed symptoms within a few hours of the infection. Remember, even Father Gabriel was like couple hours and he was feverish. Tara seems fine. So what did you guys think of this episode? How do you feel that it went in the whole scale of things? Do you feel, again, that Maggie made the right call, or do you agree that maybe this war was just a little bit too much for her? The cost of all of it as far as people and their way of life. And also, how do you think Negan is going to affect Jadis? Please leave your predictions below. I love reading those comments and getting involved in that conversation with you. And if you like this video, guys, please click like it. If you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time, see ya!